I received a question from Samantha on Instagram at AndyHillMKM, and here it is. Help, Andy. We're ready to finally buy our first home, and we're battling between getting a 15-year mortgage and a 30-year mortgage. My husband wants a lower payment, so we have options, and I want to pay off our mortgage faster. What should we do? Samantha, thank you so much for touching base with me, and congratulations for making the decision to buy your first home. That is a big moment with a huge impact on your life, so kudos for weighing the pros and cons before taking the plunge, taking the big leap. I definitely have some opinions on the 30-year mortgage versus the 15-year mortgage, but you all have heard my opinion so much on this show. I thought it would be fun to invite a couple of true real estate experts on the show to help me to answer it. So I'm excited to be joined by Mindy Jensen and Scott Trench, the hosts of the BiggerPockets Money Podcast and the authors of the new book, First Time Homebuyer, The Complete Playbook to Avoiding Rookie Mistakes. With their combined 30 years of real estate experience, Mindy and Scott have been featured in major media like Forbes, USA Today, and U.S. News and World Report. When they are not helping us all win with real estate, they both love getting outside and enjoying all that beautiful Colorado has to offer. Welcome to the show, Mindy and Scott.
Wow, thank you. I feel a lot of pressure to really bring it today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Well, that was the whole point. I want to make you feel really nervous and lots of pressure. No, not at all. We're going to have some fun. We're going to help Samantha out. Why don't we dive in right away? 15-year versus 30-year. This is a decision people struggle with. They're ready to make the plunge into buying a home. How can a couple like Samantha and her husband, sort of weigh the pros and cons here?
So I love this question because on the surface, it seems like such an easy question. Oh, of course I'll get the 15-year because then I'll pay my mortgage off in half the time. But when you dive into it a little bit more, you see that there are differences in interest rates, there are differences in monthly payment, and there's differences in the total amount of money that you're paying over the life of the loan. Because when you borrow money, you don't just borrow $5,000 and pay back $5,000. You borrow $5,000 and pay back $5,500 or whatever. So I reached out to my go-to lender, John Lalonde from Cross Country Mortgage. I said, hey, can you just give me a real quick rate quote for today so I can make an example? And he gave me way more than I asked for. He said on a $500,000 purchase, with 25% down, assuming 740 credit score, he said a 30-year loan is 3.375% interest, and a 15-year loan is 2.75% interest. So right now, it seems like the 15-year wins. But let's look at your monthly payment. Principal and interest, because you can't do taxes or insurance, for this hypothetical situation, principal and interest on a 30-year loan will be $1,658. But on a 15-year loan, your payment is more. It's $2,545. So that's an $887 a month difference. Over the life of the loan, if you're just making the basic, the plain mortgage payment, you're going to pay $596,829 on your 30-year, but only $458,069 on your 15-year. So that's $138,760 difference. I would prefer to have $138,000 in my pocket. With the rate difference being only 0.625%, this makes it a little more difficult to make a hard and fast decision. John further went in and gave me a fun fact. If you keep the 30-year option, but made the 15-year payment, so you take the 30-year with its $1,600 a month payment, but you pay the $2,500 payment. Some people do this for the security of being able to pay the lesser amount if they needed to. You would only be adding 1 year and 8 months to your mortgage. So you take the 30-year, you've got the lower required payment, but you pay more towards the principal. You're now paying off your mortgage in 16 years and 8 months. So my expert opinion would be to get the 30-year and make the extra payments as you feel like it as you can afford it, as, things come up, then you can drop back down to the 30-year mortgage payment if you'd like. The reason being, and I say this a lot, I think it's kind of cliche, but it's true. A 15-year mortgage has to be paid off in 15 years. A 30-year mortgage can be paid off in 15 years or 3 years or 27 years, but you can't extend your 15-year mortgage without some penalties or fines or foreclosure or whatever. So I like the 30-year, especially at these super low rates. I am of the mindset that you don't pay off your mortgage early at all, but I do other things with that money. If there's no other plans to do with the money, then pay off your mortgage, at your leisure.
Yeah, I like that. I like that flexibility, and it sounds like that's where Samantha was going, maybe with her husband's sort of inkling of having the options. Scott, which of these do you choose for your life? You've bought a lot of homes. Are you a 15-year guy or a 30-year guy?
Yeah, so I've actually only bought homes house hacking style, where I rent out portions of it and intend to keep the properties as rentals downstream. And I have always opted for the 30-year mortgage in my experience. And the reason for that is the increase in cash flow and increase in flexibility. I see the loan as an asset when I'm borrowing it to buy rental properties, and so I don't want to pay it off necessarily sooner than necessary. I think that the leverage I'm getting is beneficial and safer when I have a 30-year mortgage versus a 15-year mortgage.
I like that option. I'm sort of a mortgage payoff junkie, so I really like having this conversation with you guys to see the different sides. So if I could ask you, Scott, for maybe just devil's advocate, we're saying, hey, you're giving yourself the option to pay off this mortgage if that's important to you. Do you see a lot of people having as much discipline as maybe real estate experts like you or people like me who are really caring about investing actually taking that money and paying down the mortgage if they pick the 30-year?
I think the people who are going to pay off their mortgage, and this is not from my experience. I actually haven't met a lot of people who have paid off their home mortgage and followed those journeys. But if I were to guess, I'd say that the people who are going to pay off their mortgage are going to run, and they're going to pay off their mortgage. And regardless whether they got the 15 or 30-year mortgage, they're going to pile that money. If you're going to do it early in life, 15 years is half a lifetime away. If you're 30 buying your first home, right? 30 years is a lifetime away. So if you're going to pay it off substantially sooner than that, you're going to do it either way. And if you're gung-ho about paying off the mortgage right away, then maybe the 15-year makes sense, and you're going to be piling on much more than the $2,500 a year payment. Great, take the lower interest rate and run even faster. But I think that for a lot of people, the flexibility and lower risk associated with the home mortgage is going to be there. And I am one of those, I think, reasonably disciplined people with my portfolio, where I'm not taking the cash flow and then buying a boat. I'm taking the cash flow and generally reinvesting it into the next thing.
Yeah, the one of the main comments that I get, whether it's on the podcast or in social media or one of my YouTube videos where I'm like, hey, pay off your mortgage, here's a lot of benefits. A lot of the comments that I get, Mindy, are, hey, this is not the financially optimized way of utilizing your money. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. That is one of the big reasons why people advocate not paying off their mortgage.
Yeah. And I see that. I mean, it's sort of this, and I guess Samantha maybe has to answer this for herself and discussions with her husband. Is this the wealth building, financially optimized choice, or is this a choice that we're going to be making for, I guess, our emotional well-being? Because I would agree, from somebody who's paid off their mortgage early, that you crunch the numbers, I could have made a lot more money in the stock market from 2013 to 2017 when I was aggressively paying off my mortgage. But the, I guess, emotional relief that I had when I was not making close to $2,000 payments each month to my mortgage that allowed me to transition into a career that I love was priceless for me. So I guess it all comes down to your personal interests. Would you agree, Scott?
Absolutely. Personal finance is personal, to steal Mindy's favorite quote. So there is no right answer here with any of that kind of stuff. If you are spending less than you bring in, you are going to become wealthy. And it's a matter of, that rate of return really only begins to matter when your asset base is $500,000 a million or more. Like what's a 10% return on $100,000? It's 10 grand. Hopefully if you're building wealth, you're making more than 10 grand or saving more than that on an annualized basis. So the return there isn't material, 10 versus 12 versus 8 versus 3. It doesn't really matter, but that begins to matter a lot when your portfolio gets past 500,000 to $1 million. That can be the difference between retiring and that can make many years of difference. So I think that portfolio allocation can be important there. One thing to think about though is that if you want to be free from wage income or work toward financial independence, you can't, and early in life, well before retirement age, you can't have all your wealth in your home equity and retirement accounts. You have to find a way to build other after-tax assets and cash. And so if your only investment is your retirement account and home equity, I think you're just not going to benefit. You're not going to reap the benefits of freedom that you could be if you're building other assets simultaneously. So, it all comes down to savings rate. If you get the saving rate high enough, you can have all your cake and eat it too. But there's a challenge there that, again, there's no right answer to, but there are, I think, wrong answers where you're, hey, I got 1 month of savings, home equity and retirement accounts. I can't quit my job. I can't even leave. I can't even take a 3-month sabbatical. That's not, I think there's better ways to go about it than that.
I would agree. Yeah. Having different levels of freedom, whether it's, and that first level of freedom for a lot of people listening could be, hey, I've got 3 months of money in the bank. And so if something really bad happened, I'd have some options. Or even if you feel great about it, it's like, hey, I have 12 months, depending on this pandemic we're going through. Maybe people, that type of freedom for them personally is just having enough money in the bank to get through something crazy. So I guess, Samantha, what we're saying here is they both have benefits, 15-year and 30-year. It really boils down to what your goals are, and hearing from both you and your husband, where your husband's saying, I'd like to have those options, and you're saying, I want to pay off the mortgage faster. Maybe, as Mindy alluded to in the beginning, maybe you go with the 30-year, you have some aggressiveness with paying down the mortgage if that's important to you and ergo important to your husband. Both of you, thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation. Let's talk about this new book. Where can people find it, and when can they find it?
The book is called First Time Homebuyer, The Complete Playbook to Avoiding Rookie Mistakes, and it is available on March 8th at biggerpockets.com/homebuyerbook, or available on March 23rd at every place you can buy a book.
Excellent. Very cool. And everybody who's listening to a podcast right now, tell people where they can listen to BiggerPockets Money.
Oh, you can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Google, whatever the Google thing is, where podcasts are found. Google Play, I believe.
iOS.
But yeah, BiggerPockets Money, where you can find us on YouTube if you're interested in watching us, and Mindy's facial expressions whenever I say have great jokes and those kinds of things. But yeah, we've had a good time there. We talk about personal finance, financial independence, and kind of every story we can get our hands on from every background we can think of to on that journey with money.
Excellent. Well, everybody, if you enjoy this show, definitely check out BiggerPockets Money. Type it into your favorite podcast player right now. Check it out. Scott and Mindy, thank you so much for your time today.
Andy, thanks for having us. This was fun.